Hey, and welcome back to the Growing Pains podcast. I'm your host, Alyson, and today I'm going to talk about why defining your processes is really, really important. I know that you're probably in a position where you're like, hey, Allie, we know that you're an operations person, and it's starting to seem like all you have is operations advice for me, but hear me out. Something that we work on a lot at Operations Agency and with our clients at Master Maternity Leave is we really take a look at what are your processes. So oftentimes what will happen is somebody will come to me and they'll say, we onboard clients and then we, deliver on their projects and then we do this and we do that. And the biggest thing that I always ask them is, well, how does this happen? And when does this happen? And then that's when we start to get some of the discrepancies between teammates, some of the discrepancies, even within the founder themselves. They're like, well, sometimes I do it this way. Sometimes I do it that way. And what we want to do is we want to define our processes. We want to give them names. We want to centrally locate them so that everyone at the organization is doing the same thing. And you don't have clients who are coming in getting fragmented experiences, because that's what happens when you run a service company and you try to grow it. And maybe you hire on a VA or a couple of team members, or you're up-leveling individual contributors into managers. And all of a sudden, everything starts to feel like it's a little fragmented and a little bit hectic. And it's because when early on we were kind of establishing some of this stuff, we didn't actually write down and define our standard operating procedures. When I was in the hospital, when I first was on Frank, we had thought pretty much the entire pregnancy. Well, that's not true, because through the entire pregnancy, we didn't know whether he was a boy or a girl. We went through a tough personal situation. And then at the end, or during the end, I think it was like week 36, we were like, we want to find out whether we're having a boy or a girl, because we just needed good news. We knew that it was good news either way. And so we called the doctor and we were like, hey, what are we having? We want to know. And honestly, I think they went to get the paperwork and it took like 2 minutes. It was like the longest 2 minutes of our life. We were in the car. And I remember getting so excited. Me and my husband, Steve, we were so excited that it was a boy. And we'd had like boy and girl names picked out already. We were like, okay, we know that if it's a boy, it's going to be this. If it's a girl, it's going to be this. And when we got into the hospital and we had Frank and we saw him, we were like, we were going to name him John, which is our second son. Our second son's name is John. And we call him Jack. But we were like, he's not a John. Like, he just doesn't look like a John. We weren't exactly sure. And a few weeks prior, another name had entered the mix, and that ended up becoming his name, Frank. But when I was in the hospital with him, we were like in the overnight room. I think it was like after night one. So we were about to go home later on in the evening. And they kept calling me. They were like, hey, we really need to know what your son's name is. We really need to know what his name is. And I was like, call back later. And I remember being so nervous on this final decision of naming my firstborn son. And Steve and I were going back and forth and we're like, yeah, I think this might be it. And he looks like a Frank. Like, we were calling him Frank, and, really using the term, and it just felt like it was sticking. So we call back and we're like, yeah, his name is Frank. And we finally get the birth certificate, which I'm sure the hospital administration was like, what is this woman in the room? Whatever. She's going nuts. So they give me his birth certificate and like this little envelope that says Frank Michael Capri. That's his full name. And I just started like getting really emotional. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like our son. He's like his own little individual dude. And they gave us, instructions to like file for his social security and all that stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, wow, he was just a part of me. And now he's his own thing, right? He's his own thing. He's going to have his own friends, his own emotions, his own needs, and all those things. And it's the same thing inside of our business when everything flows through and depends on us. And it's only until we give it a proper name and we really define it and we kind of let it operate separately of us. Not to say it won't need things. Like Frank, when we took him home, he needed very much for me, as I'm sure lots of you listening remember. But for the most part, it's really, really challenging at first to just even define what that is, right? Defining your process is, okay, this is how we onboard a new customer. This is how we take a new project and put it into our project management tool. This is how we, ship the initial website wireframe or whatever it is that you're doing inside of your business. And it's so incredibly impactful when you can go ahead and write that down and give a name to it, because what it does is it starts to, again, externalize that. And somebody can come over and say, oh, I recognize this as a standalone thing. It's separate from our founder. And I can go ahead and I can follow this process. I can actually run with it. And it starts to actually free you up from being involved in every single thing. inside of your business. So if you haven't already, writing down some of the most important processes in your business usually look like defining how do people come into your business? So what is your acquisition system, right? How do you acquire new leads and new customers and all that stuff? You want to make sure that you have a way that you're doing that, not just, pounding the pavement and reinventing the wheel every single month that you need new business. So you want to write down the best processes that you have or the best venues that you frequent that provide you with the most opportunities for new business, so new leads. The next bucket of really solid standard operating procedures is how you convert those leads into paying customers. So if you have conversion events like webinars or sales calls, or if you just send everybody direct to a sales page, those types of things are really helpful to document, because then when you have, a maternity leave, or you want to take a vacation or take the whole summer off, you can be in a position where you hand that to somebody else and say, hey, listen, this is how I run my conversion webinars. This is how we're going to do this. Or you can make it evergreen, and then people can come through and really experience your content and then be able to take the next step with you without having you involved in every single step of the process. The next big bucket of amazing standard operating procedures that you'll want to create is how you deliver on your products and your services. We work mostly with service providers, so digital and physical services. It's really incredible to see some of these service providers who've built incredible businesses on the backs of just like their hard work and their precision and their expertise. It's honestly humbling. But you want to make sure that you can bypass your years of industry expertise by centralizing, okay, this is what I do, when I do it, how I do it, and our process for working with people, our process for getting them results. It feels so much better when you can get that type of stuff down on paper. And I'm not saying that it can't change. You can define new offers or add on additional things that your clients might need, especially if you're working really closely with them in a consulting fashion or a one-on-one kind of fractional fashion. But at the end of the day, there's still a core process for how you are doing those things. And it's important to distill that down and get it at least down on paper so that you can understand, your clients can experience some consistency. So that's super important. Fourth really important bucket is the administrative and onboarding bucket. So when you have a new teammate, if you are looking to grow a service business, I don't really see any way around growing a team. Like, I've loved collaborating with my team. It's something that I'm really proud of, and I am enjoying growing in even the challenging times and in the amazing times. I love collaborating with them, and they bring amazing ideas to the table, and they serve our clients really, really well. And so when we hire a new person into our company, they have the same onboarding process. They go through the same amount of material kind of on the onset of working with us. They get really acclimated into our tools, into our systems, and they understand where to access everything that they might need for their role. And it's really, really helpful to allow that to support our team, because at the end of the day, if you are in a service company and you want to grow it, you got to build a team. And the best way to build a team is to build a team of A players that understand exactly where to find stuff and what resources that they have at their disposal so that they can do the basics of their job and come to the table with fresh ideas, perspectives, and ways of optimizing things. A players are going to come into a business that needs a ton of work and that isn't prepared and not sure what their processes are, and they're going to go. They're going to leave, because at the end of the day, what they want is they want a place where they can grow. And if there's no foundation, there's no soil that they can kind of like plant their seed in, it's not going to work out. And you're going to lose people fast. Even if you have an incredible vision and an incredible mission, it's really, really tough to keep A players if you don't have some semblance of understanding of what exactly they're doing, what their key performance indicators are, where they can go for resources, how they can ask for help. And it's just going to be so much simpler to have that stuff in place. So one of the things that I always say to my founders when they first start doing this process is start with one process in each of those 4 areas. So how do you get your best customers? How do you convert those best customers? How do you deliver on your most profitable, exciting, fulfilling projects? And how do you allow team members or new folks into the doors, right? What do you do and how do you welcome them into the business? I think starting with those 4 core SOPs is going to get you farther than any other, operational improvement inside of your business in the immediate. So if you don't have those things defined and make sure that you have them written down and that your team can understand them, we train everybody on our team on pretty much all of those 4 areas. If even you're in client services, you still understand how we get our best customers and how we convert those people, because the client journey or the customer journey goes through all of those 4 areas. And it's really, really important that our team understand the value that we bring to our customers and our clients. And our team has been responsible in the past for referring us new business and connecting us with people and generating new ideas about how we can get more clients. And that has been really, really incredible. And it's because we have things nice and written down for them and they can actually work with me on business development, which has been so much fun. So if you haven't done that yet, we've got a lot of resources over at operationsagency.com. Specifically, I have a bunch of prompts for SOPs that I actually think are really, really relevant. And they're kind of broken up into different sections of the business. And really, I think it's helped our clients at Operations Agency and Master Maternity Leave to just see these questions. Like, okay, these are what the questions my team is, basically asking me. And if you don't have a team yet, you can rest assured that if you invite a new teammate in and you don't have any of this stuff prepared, that they will be asking some of those baseline questions about how you do what you do, when you do it, why you do it, what the specific steps are, what the definitions of done look like. So getting these SOPs set up is really, really important. And it's going to make the difference, especially if you are a parent who is running a company and you want to do things like spend time in the summers or, spend time early school days, with kids to get them situated and settled inside of school, or even be able to go and, create some time for yourself to be able to get out of kind of the weeds of your business and be able to cast more of a vision and direction with your team and leading them to success. So I hope that was helpful. And I think it's going to be a really fun exercise for you if you are in a position where you are looking to really solidify or stabilize the operations at your company. I will see you guys next time on Growing Pain.